Women in the Roman Empire, power, limits, and everyday life. The Roman Empire is often remembered for its armies, emperors, laws, and monumental architecture. Yet beneath the marble statues and military triumphs lay a social system deeply shaped by gender. Roman women lived in a world defined by hierarchy, tradition, and law, but also one that allowed surprising forms of influence and autonomy. How Roman society treated women was not simple oppression nor modern equality. It was a complex balance of restriction, expectation, privilege, and quiet power. To understand Roman women, we must look beyond stereotypes and examine law, family life, class differences, religion, and daily reality across centuries of imperial rule. Legal status: citizens without citizenship. Roman women were legally free persons, but they were never full political citizens. They could not vote, hold public office, or serve in the army. Roman law placed women under male authority, first their father, patria potestas, then usually their husband. Early Roman law, reflected in texts like the 12 Tables, treated women as legally dependent beings. A woman was expected to remain under guardianship, tutela, for most of her life. Even as an adult, she often required a male guardian to approve major legal decisions, such as managing property or entering contracts. However, Roman law evolved. By the late Republic and early Empire, elite women increasingly exercised practical independence, even when legal theory still framed them as dependent. Law constrained women on paper. Custom often softened those limits in reality. Marriage, control, duty, and strategy. Marriage in Rome was less about romance and more about family strategy. For women, marriage defined their social identity and legal position. Early Roman marriages often followed komanu, meaning the woman passed from her father's authority into her husband's control. She became legally part of his family, with limited rights to her own property. Over time, sinomanu marriages became dominant. In this arrangement, a woman remained under her father's authority, or legally independent if her father had died. This change dramatically improved women's economic position. A married woman could own property, inherit wealth, and manage estates. Divorce was legal and relatively easy for both men and women. A Roman woman could initiate divorce simply by leaving her husband's house, though social consequences varied depending on class and circumstance. Marriage, then, was restrictive, but also negotiable, especially for elite women. Motherhood, the core of female identity. Roman society defined women primarily through motherhood. Bearing legitimate children, especially sons, was considered a woman's highest duty. Fertility was not just personal, it was political. Roman families depended on heirs to preserve lineage, property, and social standing. The state actively promoted childbirth. Under Emperor Augustus, laws rewarded women who bore multiple children by reducing legal guardianship requirements. A woman who produced 3 or more children could gain significant legal autonomy. Yet childbirth was dangerous. Medical knowledge was limited and maternal mortality was high. Many women spent much of their adult lives pregnant or recovering from pregnancy. Infant mortality was also severe, making motherhood emotionally brutal as well as socially essential. Education and intelligence. Encouraged but controlled Roman girls did not receive formal education equal to boys, but education was not forbidden. Wealthy families often ensured their daughters learned reading, writing, music, household management, and basic philosophy. Elite women were expected to be cultured, articulate, and morally refined. Some became highly educated and intellectually respected, particularly within private spaces. However, public displays of intelligence could provoke suspicion. An outspoken woman risked being labeled immoral or unfeminine. Education was tolerated as refinement, but discouraged as authority. Class matters. Not all Roman women lived the same life. Roman women's experiences varied dramatically by class. Elite women. Upper-class women enjoyed wealth, servants, education, and influence. They managed estates, arranged marriages, sponsored public works, and advised male relatives. Though barred from formal politics, they often shaped political outcomes indirectly. Middle-class women, artisans' wives, shopkeepers, and professionals worked alongside men. Many ran businesses, managed finances, and supervised apprentices. Their labor was economically essential. Enslaved women. Enslaved women suffered the harshest treatment. They had no legal protection over their bodies, families, or labor. Sexual exploitation was common and legally unpunished. Enslaved women existed entirely at the mercy of owners. Thus, Roman womanhood ranged from privilege to brutal exploitation, depending on status. Religion, sacred power without political voice. Religion offered Roman women one of their most respected public roles. The most famous example was the Vestal Virgins. Vestal Virgins served the goddess Vesta and maintained Rome's sacred flame. They enjoyed extraordinary privileges, legal independence, property ownership, public honor, and seats of distinction at games and ceremonies. However, their power came at a cost. They were bound to 30 years of chastity, and violation meant death by live burial. Religious authority granted women reverence, but under severe control. Outside priesthoods, women participated in household rituals and public festivals, reinforcing their role as guardians of moral and spiritual order. Morality and sexual control. Roman society held double standards regarding sexuality. Male sexual freedom was broadly tolerated, while female sexuality was strictly regulated. A woman's virtue, pudicitia, was tied to family honor. Adultery by a wife was considered a serious crime, punishable by exile or death in extreme cases. Men faced far fewer consequences for infidelity. Under Augustus, adultery became a public offense, allowing the state to intervene in private life. Women bore the brunt of this moral legislation, reinforcing the idea that female behavior symbolized social stability. Sexual control was not about purity alone. It was about inheritance, lineage, and male authority. Public presence, seen but not heard. Roman women appeared in public spaces, markets, temples, theaters, and festivals. They were visible, but not vocal. Public speaking, political debate, and legal advocacy were male domains. When women did intervene publicly, they were often portrayed as disruptive or dangerous. Roman historians frequently depicted influential women as manipulative or immoral, even when they acted competently. The message was clear. Influence was acceptable, visibility was tolerated, authority was suspect. Power behind the curtain. Despite restrictions, many Roman women exercised real power. Imperial women shaped succession, diplomacy, and governance through family networks. Wives, mothers, and daughters of emperors influenced appointments, alliances, and imperial policy. Their authority was informal but effective. Roman society distrusted female power, but relied on it constantly. This contradiction lay at the heart of Roman gender dynamics. Women were excluded from rule, yet indispensable to it. Violence and vulnerability. Roman law protected women unevenly. While free women had some legal recourse against abuse, enforcement depended heavily on family status and male intervention. Domestic violence was often treated as a private matter. Sexual violence against enslaved women was legally irrelevant. Even free women faced stigma if they reported assault. Safety depended less on law and more on family protection. Aging and widowhood, unexpected freedom. Ironically, Roman women often gained the most freedom later in life. Widowhood could release women from male authority, granting legal independence and financial control. Wealthy widows became influential patrons, donors, and family leaders. Without a husband's control, they could manage estates, arrange marriages, and exert social authority. Roman society respected widows, especially those who chose not to remarry, as symbols of dignity and restraint. How Roman women were remembered. Roman historians, mostly elite men, shaped how women were remembered. Virtuous women were praised for silence, loyalty, and sacrifice. Powerful women were criticized for ambition. This bias has distorted modern understanding. Archaeology, inscriptions, and private letters now reveal women as active participants in Roman life, not passive figures. The historical record hid women's power behind moral judgment. Neither free nor powerless. Roman women lived within a rigidly patriarchal system, but they were not voiceless shadows. Law restricted them, custom constrained them, and morality policed them. Yet wealth, education, family networks, religion, and time allowed many women to carve out influence and autonomy. They were denied political rights but shaped politics, excluded from power but essential to stability, controlled by law but liberated by circumstance. The Roman Empire treated women not as equals, but not as irrelevancies either. Their lives reveal a society struggling to contain female agency while quietly depending on it. Understanding Roman women means accepting contradiction, limitation alongside influence, control alongside resilience, silence alongside power. If you enjoy deep, thoughtful history that goes beyond battles and crowns to reveal how real people actually lived, like and subscribe. There are many more hidden stories waiting to be uncovered. See you with the next one.